Have you ever wondered why some people just have the edge over any move you do? I made this guide to help people like you try to understand the basics and some tricks and tips to help you improve your solo sloop skills in Hourglass and Adventure. After doing the grind of getting 9,999 in Surrender Flame, I also did a lot of solo sloop and learned the most beneficial trick and moves to help improve my chances of winning my fights. Let's start with the basics. Did you know it is better to take left side bronze than the right side? Reason for it is you have less holes on the left side compared to the right side. Bottom left side has 3 holes and 4 total counting the front hole, and right side of your boat has 4 holes and 5 counting the front one. Which means if you start your broad on the right side, if you fight someone that has good naval combat, it will be harder to recover if you're in a bad spot, since you will have more water flowing and more pressure to take care of. Back holes are also important because even if you have no lower holes, they will fill up your boat unless you're in the calm water, and once you hit second deck, they'll fill up faster. Holes are the same for the back, 4 holes left and right and 2 behind the map table. Your mast is basically a 3-hit target, where your opponent has to hit either 3 cannonballs on your mast to take it down or 2 chain shots. This change was added a couple seasons ago due to make it a bit easier for people being on a sloop to have a better chance of not being able to immobilize by 1 chain shot, and put you in a vulnerable spot. Which explains why when you go against bigger ships, only 1 chain shot is needed to take down one of their masts compared to the sloop. Your wheel is also a 3-hit target, but if a cannonball hits it, it makes it a tier 2, missing 2 pegs, and harder to turn, and if it is hit with another cannonball, becomes tier 3 and missing all 3 pegs, which is basically really hard to turn. And for the wheel, 1 single chain shot will tier 3 your wheel and be missing all pegs. And for last, the anchor only will break 1 peg if it's hit by a cannonball or a chain shot. Your wheel is very important to take care of, because if you overturn and give your opponent your other side of the boat, then you will have more pressure to take care of and will become way harder for you. Which is why it's so important to always give the same side you decide to fight on and keep broadside so you can keep shooting your opponent. Let me explain the tiers that I'm talking about. When it comes to tiers, instead of explaining in the middle of battle how hurt your wheel is or holes, we call them tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 1 being the lowest hole and only missing 1 peg on your wheel, and tier 3 is being fully open hole or missing all pegs on your wheel. Experienced player has terms like this to minimize communication and to always explain what they're doing on the ship so the teammate knows what they're up to. One thing I've never heard anyone talk about is how much time it takes for your boat to fill up, and I wanted today to do some testing, give you a rough estimate on how much time it takes your boat to fill up depending on what kind of pressure you have on your boat. While the boat is filling up with water, let's talk about how much pressure each hose gives you. For 2 tier 2s, it takes around 1 minute and 10 seconds before your boat dings. For 3 tier 2s, it takes around 31 seconds for your boat to sink. For 1 tier 3, it takes 1 minute and 28 seconds. For 2 tier 3s, it takes around 43 seconds. 4 tier 3s in the back of your boat in calm water takes around 1 minute and 17 seconds before your boat sinks. 4 tier 3's back holes in open water takes around 49 seconds before your boat sinks. You can always take a screenshot, or eventually with time you just get used to the timing, or just make sure once you hear your boat about to be sinking, you grab some buckets before it's too late. I already have a cannon guide on my channel. I will put a pop-up on screen now if you're interested, but I will do a brief updated one. Cannonballs. The most important about fighting naval to naval in Sea of Thieves. To put pressure into a boat, you need cannonballs to sink your opponent. Chain shots. The second most important. Chain shots are so important to either immobilize your opponent's mast or their wheel to give them a hard time keeping pressure and having them demasted, or you get their wheel tier 3. Blunderbombs can be quite useful when boarding your opponent since a direct hit can get them to half HP. Blunderbombs can be quite useful when boarding your opponent since a direct hit can get them to half HP and give you the opportunity to board or to make them eat and get the water level rising or to even defend yourself. Firebombs are one of the least useful on sloop, especially in solos. Most good players will take care of the fire immediately, which is not that effective unless you manage to combo them and hit them when they're on fire. Other than that, it's more useful on a galleon and not effective in a sloop format. Bone Callers is probably one of the most effective special at the moment when spawning 3 skeletons on your boat, or if you are boarding and give your opponent a hard time to walk around and get rid of the pressure or defend against you boarding. Scattershot is probably one of the most useless unless you are really close broad to rust to your opponent and want to have a chance to give your opponent a couple of tier 1s. But since being released, I've had very few fights where someone used Scattershot and was never really utilized to sink someone, unless you were grinding combinations. Curse balls. In Hourglass, many players have this unwritten rules where if you want a proper fight, curse balls are off the charts and not used. I usually wait until someone uses it first before I use my curse balls, but curses are fair game since Sea of Thieves is literally an open box, so don't let anyone tell you what to do. Traps are a new addition to Season 14. Traps has been quite useful to play with in a defensive style, where you can place blunderbombs, fire bombs, or green curse ball in it. Gives you a chance to grab extra buckets if needed. In terms of practicing cannons how to multitask, I highly recommend voting one of the raid voyages to fight in the middle of a skelly fleet or a ghost fleet, and just shoot cannons while trying to manage the ship and just practice what to prioritize with angles and so on. If not, full send in Hourglass, and even if you lose, we all started at the bottom of the barrel where we learn our way up. Every fight you learn something new or how to keep your cool better and figuring out what to prioritize. Every fight is different, so with knowledge becomes better over time, and without even thinking becomes muscle memory. When boarding a boat as a solo, you have to play the long game. You don't need to go up right away unless you see a free opportunity to go up, or else you will be right back to repairing simulator. There's multiple spots you can expect your opponent to be waiting for you. On the top of the ladder, in the window to blunder you off, on the side of the boat, or closer to stairs or barrel depending on which side you decide to board on. It's always beneficial to juke on the ladder and try to shoot them or wait for them to have to go for a bucket. I have multiple videos on my channel showing solo fights if you're interested for more in details on how it plays out. Defending is also the same way, where instead of being on a ladder, you're the one pushing them off the ladder, and are the same spot you are being watched from for the most part. Up the ladder, by the window, or on the side of the barrel, or stairs, or on the side of the boat. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I didn't miss anything and tried to explain everything as much as possible with some tips to help improve your PvP gameplay and make you an absolute beast on Sea of Thieves. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.